2 million species at risk of extinction. New analyses show that around 2 million plant and animal species are at risk of extinction worldwide. This number is twice the previous estimate. In Europe alone, this threat affects 1/5 of native species. Biodiversity is declining around the world at a rate unprecedented in human history. Worse still, the rate of species extinction is accelerating, and this will have a serious impact on humanity as well. Scientists have long documented extinct species of plants and animals. In 2019, a report prepared by the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, IPBES, operating under the auspices of the UN, indicated that up to 1 million species may be at risk of extinction. However, there has always been uncertainty when it comes to insects. The new analyses collected more data on insects. This showed that the proportion of species at risk of extinction is much higher than previously estimated. According to an article published in PLOS One, adding information about insects doubled the global number of species at risk of extinction. Our study actually shows that insects are as endangered as other taxa. And since these are the richest species groups of animals on our planet, this really needs to be addressed, said Axel Hopkirch from the Musée National de Histoire Naturelle in Luxembourg. The lead author of the publication, How do insects cope in a warming world dominated by human activity? This is not entirely clear. Scientists simply don't have data on insects. 97% of all animals in the world are invertebrates. Of this group, approximately 90% they are insects. They provide important ecosystem services. They pollinate plants, process nutrients in the soil, and break down waste. Without insects, our planet will not be able to survive, emphasized Hopkirch. In their research, scientists presented an analysis of the status of 14,669 European terrestrial, freshwater and marine species identified as threatened by the International Union for Conservation of Nature in its so-called Red List of Endangered Species. That's about 10%. Continental fauna and flora, including all vertebrates and selected groups of invertebrates and plants. According to researchers, in the analyzed group, nearly 15,000 species, 19%, are at risk of extinction, with the risk of extinction being higher in the case of plants and invertebrates, as it concerns 27% plants and 24% invertebrates. When it comes to vertebrates, 18% are endangered species. The numbers obtained in these analyses are significantly higher than those published in 2019 by IPBES. The entire situation is primarily caused by agriculture and the related degradation of animal habitats, overexploitation of the environment, its pollution, and the development of cities. These are the main threats to biodiversity, and these factors have been known for a long time. Scientists emphasize that restoring sustainable land and water use practices is key to minimizing future biodiversity decline. Scientists then extrapolated the data to provide a global estimate of the total number of species at risk of extinction. Apart from insects, the estimates remained roughly the same as those made by IPBES in 2019. This comprehensive analysis of 14,669 red-listed European animal and plant species suggests that, globally, editors note, 2 million plant and animal species threatened with extinction. This result doubles the latest IPBES assumptions of 1 million endangered species, said the authors of the publication. This study shows that we have a very large percentage of species at risk of extinction. But we can do something about it, said Hochkirch, adding at the same time that the effectiveness of protective measures is being checked, in particular the increase in the number of large predators throughout Europe, such as wolves, lynxes, and bears, and white-tailed eagles. We see that whenever protective measures are taken, improvement occurs, he noted. The authors of the publication indicate that urgent actions and investments are needed in efforts to protect biodiversity. They add that biodiversity is crucial to food security and overall human well-being. On land, in the seas and oceans, humans are destroying ecosystems at an unprecedented rate. Without drastic actions to protect habitats, the rate of species extinction, which is already several dozen to even several hundred times higher than the average over the last 10 million years, will increase further. Healthy heart. Sitting all day is the worst thing we can do. New analysis by an international team of scientists assessed the movements and positions we typically adopt every day for their heart benefits. The results show that anything is better than sitting all day. Scientists emphasize that just a few minutes of moderate exercise a day measurably improves heart health. The meta-analyses, conducted by researchers from University College London and the University of Sydney and published in the European Heart Journal, are the first to assess how different movement patterns and positions we adopt over a 24-hour period are linked to heart health. The results showed that anything would be better than sitting all day. Even sleeping. Continuous sitting for a long time affects our health. Doctors have long been recommending greater physical activity, especially to those who spend all day at work sitting in front of a computer. Sedentary work has various negative effects. In this way, we can develop numerous chronic diseases, the most important of which are diabetes and heart disease. And heart and circulatory system diseases are the leading cause of death in the world. In 2021, more than 20 million people died from heart disease. Since 1997, the number of people suffering from heart and circulatory diseases worldwide has doubled and is expected to continue to rise. Modern lifestyle certainly does not make it easier for our hearts, and lack of physical activity, poor diet, smoking and alcohol consumption are important risk factors. In their work, scientists analyzed data from 6 studies covering a total of 15,246 people from 5 countries to check how our everyday behaviors, positions we adopt and movements we perform affect the heart function. Each person participating in the study wore a device on their thigh that measured their daily activity. Each person also underwent tests to assess their heart condition. Data from these 6 studies also provided information on the effects of sedentary behavior, standing, light to moderate vigorous activity, and sleep on various measures of heart health. From this, they identified a hierarchy of heart-healthy behaviors on a typical day. Physical activity came first. The vigorous one had better benefits, but the moderate and light ones were also rated highly. Next came standing, then sleeping, and finally sitting. Sitting all day is the worst thing we can do when it comes to heart health, but that shouldn't surprise anyone anymore. The researchers emphasized that replacing sitting with exercise is beneficial, but it will only improve health if it becomes a long-term habit. The researchers also developed a model showing what would happen if a person switched from one behavior to another every day for a week to estimate the effect on heart health. They found that replacing a sedentary lifestyle with just 5 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity had a noticeable impact on heart health. The most beneficial change we saw was replacing sitting with moderate to vigorous activity. This could be running, a brisk walk, or climbing the stairs. Basically any activity that raises your heart rate and makes you breathe faster, even for a minute or two, said Joe Blodgett of University College London. The model showed that for a 54-year-old woman with an average BMI of 26.5, just half an hour of activity instead of sitting resulted in a decrease in BMI by 0.64, which is 2.4%. And a decrease in waist circumference by 2.5 centimeters, 2.7%, or a decrease in glycated hemoglobin concentration by 1.33 mmol per mole, 3.6%. Scientists have pointed out that although vigorous activity is the fastest way to improve heart health, the benefits may also be gained by people who don't push themselves so hard. The authors of the publication emphasize that even standing at a desk instead of sitting will bring benefits. But the lower the activity intensity, the longer it takes to see tangible benefits. The researchers also found that the least active people benefited the most from lifestyle changes. We already know that exercise can have real benefits for cardiovascular health. And this study shows that just making small changes to your daily routine can reduce your risk of a heart attack or stroke. This study also shows that replacing even a few minutes of sitting with a few minutes of moderate activity can improve BMI, cholesterol levels, waist circumference, and many other benefits. Being active isn't always easy, and it's important to make changes that you can stick with in the long run and that you enjoy. Anything that increases the heart rate can be helpful, emphasized James Leeper from the British Heart Foundation. A cross between a hedgehog, a mole, and an anteater. A strange egg-laying mammal rediscovered after 60 years. The mountain echidna was first and last seen in 1961, when the skin and skull fragments of a then unknown species were found. But camera traps recently installed in the Cyclopes Mountains in Indonesia captured a live individual of this elusive species. The mountain echidna was described by scientists in 1998. Australian researchers named it Zaglossus attenboroughii in honor of Sir David Attenborough, an English journalist, naturalist and science popularizer. Until recently, this species had only been seen once, and it was a dead and incomplete specimen. In 1961, a Dutch botanist found the skin, teeth and skull fragments of an adult individual. After 60 years, a research expedition composed of scientists from the University of Oxford, the Indonesian NGO Yayasan Pelayanan Papua Nenda, YAPPENDA, Cenderawasih University, UNCEN, and the Indonesian National Agency for Research and Innovation, BRIN, managed to capture the elusive mammal using camera traps installed in the Cyclops Mountains in Indonesia, one of the least explored regions in the world. Scientists also made many other valuable discoveries. The mountain echidna belongs to the order of monotremes, which also includes the more famous Australian platypus. This is an evolutionarily separate group belonging to the subclass of mammals. Their most characteristic feature is oviparity. There are 5 species of monotremes alive today, and all of them live in Australia, Tasmania, or New Guinea. These animals are difficult to observe. They are nocturnal, live in burrows and are extremely shy. The species has only been seen in the Cyclopes Mountains and is currently classified as critically endangered. This mammal reaches a body length of about 30 centimeters. It inhabits tropical mountain forests. The mountain echidna has spines like a hedgehog, an anteater's snout and mole feet. It looks completely different from other mammals because it belongs to monotremes, an egg-laying group that separated from the rest of mammals about 200 million years ago, said James Kempton from the Department of Biology at the University of Oxford, the originator and leader of the expedition. The first living individual was recorded recently, during the expedition to difficult-to-reach areas. Scientists placed over 80 camera traps in various places. They spent almost a month in the forest, in the company of poisonous snakes, leeches, malaria-spreading mosquitoes and constant heat. Only on the last day, when the researchers had already lost hope and there was no space on the memory cards, the mountain echidna was recorded on the recording. These are the first ever photos of a living individual of the mountain echidna. This discovery is the result of hard work and over 3.5 years of planning. A key reason why we have been successful is that, with the help of vIPYcNDA, we have spent years building relationships with the community of Yonsu Sapari, a village on the northern edge of the Cyclops Mountains. The trust between us was the basis of our success, as the locals shared with us the knowledge necessary to navigate these treacherous mountains, and even allowed us to conduct research in areas where no human had ever set foot before, Kempton said. In addition to searching for the echidna, the scientific expedition also conducted the first comprehensive assessment of invertebrate, reptile, amphibian and mammalian life in the Cyclopes Mountains. Thanks to the support of local guides, scientists managed to create makeshift laboratories in the heart of the jungle. By combining scientific techniques with the Papuan team's experience and knowledge of the forest, scientists made many discoveries. They included several dozen species of previously unknown insects. Scientists also spotted a bird of the species Teloprora mayri, which was last seen in 2008. The extraordinary discovery was a completely new type of shrimp that wanders on the ground and even climbs trees. We were shocked to discover this shrimp in the middle of a forest that hardly resembles the typical coastal habitat of these animals, said Dr. Leonidas Romanos Davranoglu from the University of Oxford. We think the high levels of rainfall in the Cyclopes Mountains mean there is enough humidity for these creatures to live on land, he added. The people of Yonsu Sapari allowed researchers to enter their sacred mountain. There they discovered a system of caves in which they found further unknown species, blind spiders and an unknown species of scorpion spider. The caves were discovered by accident when one of the expedition members fell into the entrance to the cave system hidden in moss and lichen. Scientists have so far sorted only part of the material collected during the expedition. As they analyze the rest, they expect to find more unknown species. They plan to name them after the Papuan members of the expedition. In addition to animal specimens, researchers also collected over 75 kilograms of rock samples for geological analyses. They can help answer many questions about how and when the Cyclopes Mountains originally formed. Combined with biological discoveries, geological work will help scientists understand how this area's extraordinary biodiversity arose. Where are the starfish heads? Mystery solved. Scientists have wondered for years where the starfish's head is. When you look at most other animals, it's clear where the head is and where the tail is. But starfish with their arms confounded researchers. Their unusual body arrangement led them to conclude that starfish may not have a head at all. But in new research, scientists have found that the opposite may be true. Starfish are not headless at all. As they evolved, they lost their entire bodies, becoming just heads. Starfish are very characteristic animals. They are easily recognized by their star-like structure. They live on virtually any type of seabed at depths ranging from half to even 300 meters. Although they were also found at greater depths. They come in various colors, sizes and shapes. Sometimes, without developed arms, they have a pentagonal shape. They are predators and belong to the type of echinoderms. They hunt sea urchins, mussels and sea snails. Sometimes they settle for carrion. They move very slowly, about 5 to 15 centimeters per minute, using the so-called ambulacral legs located on each arm. These legs are also used to recognize and catch food. For decades, scientists have wondered where the heads of these creatures are. The vast majority of animals have the so-called bilateral symmetry, which means that they can be divided into two mirror halves along the axis from head to tail. This body plan is precisely controlled by a number of developmental genes. Starfish are animals with radial symmetry and do not have a clearly defined head or tail. There was even a view that these creatures may simply have no heads. Scientists from Stanford University and the University of California, Berkeley have discovered that something strange happened to starfish during their evolution. The new study, which used various imaging techniques and advanced molecular and genomic methods, created a three-dimensional atlas of starfish gene expression. Thanks to this, scientists learned which genes were expressed and where. This showed that starfish are basically just the head. The results and description of the research were published in the journal, Nature. In 1995, the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine was awarded to 3 scientists who used fruit flies to demonstrate that the bilateral symmetry observed in most animals is produced by the action of a series of molecular switches encoded by genes. This genetic programming is common to the vast majority of species, including vertebrates, which include humans, and invertebrates such as insects. However, the starfish did not match the researchers' findings. Instead of showing bilateral symmetry, adult starfish and related echinoderms have 5-ray symmetry, with no distinct head or tail. Over the years, various concepts regarding the structure of starfish have been developed, but none of them has gained recognition in the scientific community. Only genetic research and gene sequencing techniques improved in recent years helped. Sequencing that would have taken months a few years ago can now be done in a matter of hours and is hundreds of times cheaper, said David Rank, co-author of the study. These advances meant we could start research essentially from scratch on an organism that is not normally studied in the laboratory. We were able to conduct detailed research that would have been impossible 10 years ago, he added. The researchers used spatial transcriptomics. This is a study combining gene expression profiling with tissue morphological characteristics. Thanks to this technique, it is possible to identify cells and at the same time indicate, through gene expression profiles, their location in the tissue structure. In other words, this method allowed scientists to determine which starfish genes are active in specific places in the body. The researchers also used X-ray microtomography to recreate the animal's shape and structure in great detail. This work showed that the starfish actually consists of head-like regions located in the middle of its body and in the center of each of its 5 arms. So what we think is the starfish's body is actually its head. The researchers examined differences in gene expression in 3 different directions throughout the starfish's body. From the middle to the tips of the arms, from the top to the bottom, and from one side of the edge of the arms to the other. Then, to take a closer look at the behavior of some key genes. They tagged them one by one with fluorescent dyes. This resulted in the creation of a detailed map of their distribution in the starfish's body. They found that gene expression corresponding to the forebrain in humans and other bilaterally symmetrical animals is located along the midline of the arms, while gene expression corresponding to the midbrain is located at the outer edges of the arms. The researchers observed the expression of genes responsible for the structure of the head, but they saw only one gene typically associated with the body, at the very edges of the starfish's arms. These results suggest that echinoderms, and starfish in particular, have the most dramatic example of head-body separation known, said Laurent Formery, lead author of the new study. He added that some of the strange-looking starfish ancestors preserved in the fossil record appear to have had a thorax. It's as if the starfish had completely lost its torso and is best described as a head crawling on the seabed, he added. When we compared gene expression in starfish with that of other animal groups, such as vertebrates, we found that a key part of the body plan was missing, explained study co-author Jeff Thompson. Genes that are usually involved in shaping the animal's body were not expressed. It appears that the entire body plan of echinoderms is roughly equivalent to the head in other animal groups. It probably evolved in a much more complex way than previously thought, he added.